Well, hey folks, Real Honesty with Your Mental. This is Wrestling's Most Tasteless, Episode 2, Electric Boogaloo. This is going to be about WWE. I did the first episode about Impact. That one did pretty well, all things considered. And yeah, it's going to be an angry rant series, much like Times of Wrestling to Piss Me Off Redux, but this is going to focus mainly on just all the tasteless stuff. Stuff I found tasteless. Stuff that was just bad taste in bad taste, or worse taste. Stuff that didn't need to be done. It didn't pop ratings. It didn't do any good. I mean, it was just absolute dog shit. I just never understood why the stuff written, that I've written down on this list happened. Now, I got why some of it happened, but the way a lot of it was handled was pretty tasteless. So, let's just start with this. And by the way, anything WWE related, you can leave in the comments. Just know that if I did respond to any of your comments that you left on the previous video, I did already write down vast majority. If I didn't, please leave comments again about stuff that you want to see. I will make, if I like the comment, then I've wrote it down. So anyway, here we go with Katie Vick. I don't know whose fucking idea it was to do this shit. Apparently Vince finds corpse fucking funny. Then again, he finds a lot of shit funny. And he also doesn't know what the fuck a burrito is, despite the fact he eats a fucking burrito. Vince, what the fuck are you like? If that stuff's to be believed. So Katie Vick, okay, let's go with the whole thing. And I did talk about this on Times of Wrestling to Piss Me Off Redux, but I'm going to dive just a little deeper into this stuff. Kind of gross, given wording it that way, given what it was about. But during Triple H's Reign of Terror, which yes, you can check out a video of that. I believe that's up in my Rants or Assorted. I think it's my Rants playlist, where I talk about his Reign of Terror from 2002, 2003. Probably could include 2004 in there, since he was always in the main event. But anyway, this was when Kane was kind of on the ascent. They had really used Kane very, very oddly. He had cut a lot of weight. He was still in really, really good shape, but it's like he dropped like 40 pounds. And he was still a dominant monster, but he was quicker. He was a lot lighter. He was also in a tag team with, I believe, the Hurricane at the time. He was kind of on the ascent. They were starting to realize, hey, Kane's really, really good. Let's give him a main event push. We'd already buried RVD at Unforgiven. Maybe we can make Kane work. And then they did this whole thing. I think it was the TLC. It was TLC 4 on October 7, 2002, where they, on that Raw episode, where they talked about, where they had Kane win. I think Hurricane got taken out. So it was just Kane, not of the Hurra variety, winning the tag titles, and which was very, very odd. But then he's also the Intercontinental Champion, and I just didn't quite understand where they were going with this stuff. And then Triple H, it was either that episode or soon after, but Triple H makes the comment, he comes out, and he's got the world title and everything, because, he is Triple H, and he is the best wrestler, and he will remind you of that through all bad booking. Now, Triple H isn't good, but kind of siding a little more with Bret Hart about how Triple H is in the ring, my opinion. Doesn't matter if you guys like Triple H, that's great. I mean the wrestler, not the businessman. But he starts talking about Katie Vick. It's like you talk about, being this and this. Well, how is Katie Vick? What about Katie Vick? You're Kane, you're a murderer. And I remember watching that episode, and it leaves like that, and I'm just looking at a friend of mine at the time, piece of shit that I don't want to talk to now, and I'm just like, what the fuck? What? I mean, I was intrigued to tune in next week. I just wasn't sure where we were going to go with it. And then Kane cuts his promo, I believe, the following week, where he talks about he was at a college party, drank too much, drove this girl, Katie, home, and it was a drunk driving accident, and she ended up dying, and it's haunted him ever since. So first we go with this backstory where he was burned in a funeral home, but then he wasn't burned, or the family home. But then his burns turned out to actually be emotional. I mean, after his unmasking about a little under a year later. But now we hear that he went to college. So he was burned, he went to college, and he had the mask on, I guess, I presume. Or he convinced this girl, because of his burns that were not actually there, that to sleep with it. It was all convoluted. The college party thing was ridiculous. Katie Vick ends up dying, Katie Vick. And then, like, the next week, or maybe even that same episode, because a lot of that stuff gets mighty to me. I pushed a lot of that shit out of my mind. They show Triple H in a Kane mask and very little clothing with a dummy, with a mannequin in a casket at a funeral home, presumably, simulating sex with this fucking mannequin. What in the actual fuck was this shit? This was absolute garbage TV. I don't care if Triple H is getting more power. I don't care if this was Shawn Michaels. I mean, Shawn Michaels wouldn't have done. At least not born again Shawn Michaels. Coked out of his head Shawn Michaels, perhaps. But I don't care who it was that was in the, top tier echelon of the main event at this time. I don't care how much staying they had in the company. This kind of stuff, it turned what was a feud. Kane and Triple H just having a feud over who was the better champion would have been a whole lot better. Anybody defending Katie Vick, if you found it funny, okay, fine. I mean, whatever. I remember just watching it and just being horrified. I'm 21 at the time. Horrified because I'm thinking, if I was showing somebody this about wrestling, would anybody be able to justifiably, not say to me, why the hell do you watch this shit? What the fuck is this? I wouldn't blame anybody if they said that kind of stuff. That was what was ridiculous about it. It made everybody terrible. And this was actually my fucking expression. Similar to that, when the Katie Vick thing happened. And I'm like, what? This isn't wrestling. This isn't even entertainment. I mean, it just became WWE a few months before. It wasn't fucking entertainment. Corpse fucking, not exactly funny. And sorry, if you're a necro, you need to seek help. That's a little bad. But I just didn't get it. I was like, this didn't advance the feud. It made Triple H seem ridiculous. It buried Kane, seemingly. It took the whole feud that wasn't that good to begin with and made it even worse. And then, instead of Kane being able to beat Triple H and be champion, no, he lost. And it was just a goofy match and this kind of stuff. And then Kane, he was in the first ever Elimination Chamber. But then after that, he was pretty much put to the mid-card and facing, or he was teaming with RVD and doing all this kind of stuff. And it was bad. He wasn't even on the main card of WrestleMania 19. And he was on the main card, I'm assuming, of every WrestleMania from 14 to 18. And then he wasn't even on the main card for 19. I believe him and RVD faced, no, God, was he even on that? It was ridiculous. Kane wasn't even, I think he was on the pre-show, but it was bad. It was really, really bad. I think him and RVD faced Lance Storm and either Sean Morley or William Regal. That one's a little muddy to me. And the Dudleys interfered, I believe, because they were on Bischoff's side because they needed jobs. That whole storyline was ridiculous. But the whole thing is the Katie Vick storyline, what was really, really tasteless about it is, the corpse fucking. But also just the implied stuff of like, hey, implied corpse fucking, whatever. It was just so fucking terrible and god-awful. And nobody benefited from it. Nobody. Triple H, it was just Triple H wielding his power, his newfound power, because he had been dating Stephanie for a while, and they got married, I think, like a year after this. I think it was right after No Mercy 03. Father-daughter I quit match. There's something I should I should do a 20-year reflection on, 15-year reflection on. Actually, yeah. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to do that next month. Yeah, that was really, really shit. Katie Vick, though, my God, what was this? Besides bad and tasteless, it just was. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. It was 100% dog shit. Nobody benefited from it. It was just absolute shit. And then we move on to the Terri Runnels miscarriage angle, which apparently was written by Ed Ferrara and Vince Russo. I don't know who wrote more of it. I don't care who wrote more of it. Both those guys should have been kicked out of the wrestling business for that. There's been tasteless shit done before that and since that. This may not even be in the top 10, but it's up there. And the reason I'm talking about it in episode 2 is because, to me, it was almost as bad as the Katie Vick thing. Because Terri Runnels, she wasn't going to be able to fake a pregnancy, gain weight, this kind of stuff. And she had, it was like this thing where she was part of PMS, Pretty Mean Sisters, her and Jacqueline. And Terri was never an in-ring performer, but she was passionate about wrestling and respected it. Was a great manager as Alexandra York or Marlena with Goldust. And then after that whole relationship, went by the wayside. She was Terri Runnels and was, this performer here. And they had this whole idea where she was supposed to be pregnant. It was this thing where Pretty Mean Sisters had D'Lo Brown with them. But then they had this thing where Terri took this bump, and the doctor, she was like clutching her stomach and this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I'm watching, like, what the fuck? They take her backstage. The doctor is listening to her stomach, to the stomach area. And he couldn't hear the baby's heartbeat anymore. Wow. Again, Ed Ferrara and Vince Russo should have been fired for that. Fired, kicked out of goddamn wrestling. Anybody that greenlit that, Vince McMahon should have been freaking just vilified for that. The fact that that got put on TV, because it didn't improve anything. Again, look at this goddamn face. Cornette talked about it. Because Cornette was working in WWE at the time. And can state it better than I ever could. And I'm just looking at it from a fan's perspective. But it was absolute shit. I'm like watching, I go, Terri didn't deserve this. Jacqueline's a hell of a wrestler. D'Lo's a really good worker. They compromised D'Lo's character like crazy. Who was a really good performer. He may have never been more than a mid-card champion. He may have never been more than a tag team champion. But D'Lo, who was a really good worker and apparently had massive neck problems because he kept, twirling his head around or whatever. I can't do it like he did. Really impressive he was able to keep doing that every night, because I got dizzy just, watching him do that. But just that whole thing of Terri clutching her stomach, the doctor, I can't hear the baby's heartbeat anymore. Bear in mind, I obviously can't bear children. I'm a guy. I can't do that. I know women that I will not mention the names of here that either had miscarriages, had stillborn births, babies that were born and were dead, unfortunately, or are unable to bear children. That right there, see, that's the point where bad taste is in it's bad taste and worse taste, because nothing could have made that better. Could it have made it better if Terri was faking it, faking the whole pregnancy? And that kind of stuff, and just a way to get D'Lo on her side and get D'Lo sympathy. Yes. Did they need to show the whole thing of, oh my God, the baby's heartbeat, we can't hear it? No. It was an angle that couldn't have done anything, didn't help ratings, didn't help nothing, made Terri seem ridiculous. And Terri Runnels she really should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Jacqueline, thankfully, is. I don't think D'Lo will ever be, which had they used him better, he probably could have been, because he could have been a hell of a star for him. He was somebody that was pretty much, his character was nuked at that point. He became, later that year, he became the co-owner, or he became a co-champion, Intercontinental European title, and I believe lost them to Jarrett, and then Jarrett gave the European title to Mark Henry. Right. That wasn't tasteless, that was just stupid. But Terri Runnels did not deserve that. Jacqueline did not deserve that. D'Lo Brown did not deserve that. The fans did not fucking deserve that. The women that cannot bear children or have had miscarriages or this kind of stuff did not deserve that. It was bad. It was bad taste done in some of the worst taste possible. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, it might actually be top 10 worst things of the Attitude Era. It might be. And I might even have to do a list of that at some point. So you might get another rant sometime next year about the 10 worst things, 10 of the worst things of the Attitude Era. This is just pointless, absolutely pointless. And now, it turns out it's only going to be 3 topics on this, so I can probably extend this series longer. But now I finish up with the Paige versus Charlotte build in 2015, right before Survivor Series, using Reid Flair's death. I don't care if it was Vince's idea, Charlotte's idea, Paige's idea. I don't care. That, neither here nor there. Because Rick didn't know about it. Reid's mother apparently didn't know about it. If that's true, that's pretty dog shit to do. Because it was still fresh. Reid Flair had only died like 2.5 years before that. He was the reason Charlotte got in the ring. And just the line, I already was cringing. I was already watching this. I had to watch this on delay because at the time I was not reviewing wrestling. I was not reviewing Raw Live. I didn't get to review Raw Live really until around June of 2016 when I finally just decided, heck with it, I'm just going to review it with friends. And I've been reviewing it live ever since. But just... Oh, God. His goddamn angle. It wasn't gonna... If this feud had been built up from, say, I don't know, SummerSlam up, if they had been playing the seeds and stuff like that, and had explode at, like, Hell in a Cell, if this had been a number of months later, if this had been leading up to WrestleMania, it still wouldn't have been fucking worth it. You know why? Because using deaths and angles, I didn't like mostly any time they used deaths and angles. Because to me, it was just cheap heat and not a good way to get good heat. It was, again, and I hate to use this shirt again, because I've used it a lot, but that was my expression during it. It was total shit. Total 100% shit. And the one line... You got Paige and Charlotte talking. Charlotte, even this impassioned speech. The crowd is uncomfortable, you can tell. And Paige, just with the one line, your little baby brother didn't have much fight in him, did he? I wanted to reach through that TV and just absolutely cripple the writer and the person that greenlit it. And I mean greenlit it. Because Charlotte could have recommended it and Vince could have said, no, we're not going to do that. That's not a good idea. Though, again, Vince thinks corpse fucking is funny. So he really doesn't have many limits. Whoever greenlit this whole thing, it was terrible. Paige seemed uncomfortable saying it, and she tried her best. Charlotte even seemed uncomfortable. Maybe it was like the suggestion where, yeah, let's do this, and after they get out in front of, like, thousands of people, this might not be the best idea. I hated how they used Reid Flair's death. Fucking hated it. I absolutely fucking hated it. It was one of the worst things that WWE has done in its modern times. And that's saying something, at least in the last 5 years. So yeah, and especially during the Authority era. This was during the Authority era. Let us never forget how shit that was. But yeah, this is going to be a bit of a shorter show because the next topic I got to talk about would probably be about 10 minutes. So anyway, do you agree? Do you disagree with what I've said? What do you think of the series so far? Do you have other things WWE did, WCW did, Impact Wrestling did, other companies did? Make sure to say, hey, here's what WWE, and then list them. You list them by company, and then that way I can figure it out. Anyway, like, share, comment, subscribe. Twitter link or Twitter handle in the description. It's been Real Honesty with Jar Mifflin, and I will see you soon.